There's a place He comes to me. Though I'm blind, He helps me see. Though I see dimly in this place, one day I'll see Him face to face.
This is Kurt Kaikkonen, pastor of Calvary Chapel, Waterford, at your neighborhood church. Today on Face to Face, we'll be in the book of Genesis. So grab your Bibles and let's get started. If you want to hear this complete message in its entirety, go to yourneighborhoodchurch.com, where you can download Your Neighborhood Church app at the App Store.
But Isaac, he knew something wasn't right. This was too quick. So Isaac asked him, "How did you find it so quickly?" And then Jacob's third lie. And in this lie, he lies about God. He says, "Your God brought it to me." And Isaac, he knows something's not right, but he doesn't have any spiritual discernment in this matter. He has no spiritual senses, so he can only rely on his physical senses. So Isaac says, "Come here, let me feel you. I'm not really sure you're Esau." And then he's thinking, well, maybe something's wrong with my ears. Because you don't sound like Esau, you sound like Jacob, but you have those hairy hands. So Isaac blessed him. And he asked him again, because surely Jacob wouldn't lie to him twice. Are you really my son Esau? And then Jacob lied the fourth time, and he says, "I am." And so Isaac, he eats his game. And for a dying man, he has a great appetite because he eats it all. And then Isaac says, "Come near now and kiss me, my son." And now Jacob, he betrays his father with a kiss. This was not a kiss of love. This was the kiss of betrayal. And this reminds us of Jesus when he was betrayed by one of the people he loved, and he was betrayed with a kiss. And for a son to do this to a father is inexcusable. And it's not just because Isaac's old and he's an invalid and he's blind, but it's because Isaac is his father. This is deep betrayal. And then Isaac smelled the clothes and he blessed him. And Isaac blesses him with the dew of heaven and the fatness of the earth, with well-watered land and prosperity, and then with the material blessings, with grain and plenty of food and wine. And wine always represents joy. And then he makes him the ruler over peoples, and not only the foreigners, but rulers over his own brothers. And he only had one brother, and that was Esau. And Isaac tells him, "Cursed be everyone who curses you, and blessed be those who bless you." And that was a blessing that was given to Abraham's descendants. And that blessing, well, that still remains today, and it's still with the people of Israel. And just like that Mission Impossible movie, as soon as the imposter walks out, the real Esau walks in. And Esau, he says almost the exact same words. The only word he didn't say was please. And again, with Isaac being blind, he says, Who are you? And Esau tells him, "It's me, your firstborn." And then Isaac trembles because Isaac knows he's been undone. And not so much by Jacob. He knows that he's been undone and he's been caught by God and that he's been overruled. And he asks, "Well, where's the one who hunted game and came and brought it to me, and I ate all of it before you came?" And he knows it was Jacob. And Isaac said, "I ate all of it," and he will be blessed. Because even in this deception, God allowed Isaac to bless Jacob, and the blessing was real. And it's not because Isaac said it, and it's not because Jacob deserved it. It's because God ordained it in God's own sovereignty, in spite of the deception of Jacob and despite of the rebellion of Isaac. And Isaac knew that that blessing that he spoke had God's stamp of approval on it, and Isaac couldn't take it back. No one could take it back. And then this big burly man starts crying like a big baby. It says Esau cried bitterly, but he's not crying in repentance because he's not sorry for anything, because he's still not sorry about marrying those 2 pagan women or for being a fornicator. He's only crying for the loss of that blessing because that blessing was connected to the birthright that he sold. And he was just being shady. He thought he had a chance of getting it back. But it wasn't like Esau had changed his mind and now he wanted the things of God, because he didn't like the things of God. He just wanted the stuff. He wanted the land. He wanted the material wealth. He wanted all the honor without being honorable, and he wanted respect without being respectable. Esau never wanted to be the kind of man that God would bless. He wanted all the blessings of God, but without God. And we see that a lot in our world. We see the whole world wanting peace and love and joy. And they want to have security and prosperity. And they all want to be forgiven when they wrong others. And they want to be shown mercy when they're judged. Everybody wants those things. They just don't want the God who gives those things. They want God's things, but they want it without him. And all of these things, all these attributes of God, they all belong to Jesus because his Father gave them to him. And to want all those kind of things without Jesus, it's just like being like Esau. And so Esau, he cries and he begs his dad to give him a blessing. And he says, is there only one? And Isaac, he feels so sorry for his favorite son because he knows that he led him to believe that he'd be getting that blessing. And so Isaac, he blames Jacob, that it was through Jacob's deceit. And then Esau, he blames Jacob. And he accuses Jacob of tricking him and taking it away from him twice. But in this case with Esau, Jacob didn't take it. He didn't take anything. Esau sold it. He just didn't want to take responsibility for his own choices because it's just easier to blame somebody else for your foolish actions. But Esau, he had free will. Nobody forced him. But Isaac, he knew that there was only one blessing, and it was gone. And Isaac tells Esau straight. He says, I made Jacob your master, and I sustained him with grain and with wine. And Esau, he kept crying and begging. And it's really quite pitiful. And so Isaac, he makes up some kind of blessing, but it actually sounds more like a curse. And he uses a lot of the same words as the blessing for Jacob, like the dew of heaven and the fatness of the earth, where those things were given as gifts to Jacob. But in the context with Esau, they meant, well, you're going to be living away from the land. And then living off the fatness of the land means your descendants, they're going to be nomads. They're going to be living in the elements under the dew of heaven, in the wilderness areas. And you're going to have to live by your sword, which means you're going to survive by violence. And your nation, well, it's going to be subject to Jacob's nation. But at some points, you're going to get restless and you're going to break it. And all these things came true, and you can read about it in 2 Kings 8:20. And the very last known descendants of Esau that history tells us about, it's the family of the Herods. They were Edomites, and Esau's other name, remember, was Edom. And the Herods, they ruled in Israel in the time of Jesus, and they killed all the baby boys in Bethlehem because he was trying to kill the Messiah. And that was after the wise men told Herod where the Messiah was to be born. And then his son, another King Herod, he killed John the Baptist. And he wanted to see Jesus perform some tricks. But when Jesus saw him, he wouldn't even speak to him. And you wonder, with this blessing being much more like a curse, why did Isaac not care about those things being in Jacob's life? Would he have preferred for Jacob to have all those hardships. And so after Esau, he didn't receive the blessing, and it says he hated Jacob. And that's pretty strong. And we're told clearly that it was out of envy, because he blames Jacob for what he lost. Because if Esau can't enjoy these blessings, Jacob won't either. And I'm going to kill him. So if I'm going to have to live by the sword, I'm going to use it on Jacob first. And so Esau says, I'll wait for Dad to die before I do it. And you notice he doesn't say I'm going to wait for Mom to die. So I'm pretty sure that he's mad at her too. And Rebekah, she heard this somehow. She probably had her ear up against another tent wall in the right place at the right time, because she knew everything that was going on in that household. But she never imagined that Esau would take that loss so badly to the point where he would murder his own brother. But she believes him because she knows Esau's nature and knows that he can't control his anger and how he can be violent, and that this was not an idle threat. And she thought, well, when Isaac dies, because everybody in that house thought Isaac was dying, and they thought he was going to die any day, that she would lose not only her husband, but she would lose her favorite son. And so she calls Jacob and she tells him, Esau's going to kill you. And she tells him, go to Laban, go to my brothers, and it'll only be for a few days. And when his hate subsides, I'll call you back. But Esau's hate, it never subsided. And those few days became 20 years. And somehow Rebekah had patched things up with Isaac, because Rebekah was the love of Isaac's life. And she complains about Esau's wives, how she would hate her life if Jacob ever married one of these pagan girls. So Rebekah uses this complaint of hurt to get Isaac to send Jacob to Laban. And so now, instead of Isaac chewing Jacob out for his deceit, he blesses Jacob. And he commands him to take a wife from Laban's daughters. And so Jacob runs to escape Esau's sword. But see, Esau, he also hears about that command that Isaac gave to Jacob not to marry a Canaanite woman. And he realizes that these Canaanite wives, they didn't please his father. And there's a point here where you kind of just really have to feel sorry for Esau. Because even though he doesn't have a place for God, and even though he loves every nasty and every fleshy thing, and even though he's traded everything of value for a worthless life, he really wanted the approval of his father. He's kind of like a boy who never ever really grew up and would throw a big fit when he didn't get his way. But he felt he lost his father with the loss of that blessing. And he really did want his father's approval because he really did love his dad. But it was way too late to get rid of his pagan wives. And so in an effort to try to please his parents, he took another wife from a relative. It was from Ishmael. And Ishmael, if you remember, that's Isaac's half-brother. Esau's trying his best to regain his father's approval. And this whole story, this Jerry Springer soap opera drama, you have to realize none of this had to ever happen.
You've been listening to Face to Face. Face to Face on this radio station has been provided by Your Neighborhood Church. If you want to help support Face to Face and put this program on other stations just like yours, you can contact us at yourneighborhoodchurch.com or write Your Neighborhood Church, P.O. Box 500, Romeo, Michigan 48065.
There's a place he comes to me. Though I'm blind, he helps me see. Though I see dimly in this place, one day I'll see him face to face.
Tune in again tomorrow at this same time as we continue to go through the Bible.